Yes, everybody, you're seeing correctly. It's not a Sunday, yet we have another interview in the form of a special. And I'm very, very happy to do this. A few weeks ago, we premiered a song on our website by a collaboration between these three nice-looking gentlemen here. Dead Neanderthals plus Scott Hedrick from Skeletonwitch. Very, very happy to have you here on our show. Thanks for joining, guys.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Where are we catching you right now?
At home in Nijmegen, the Netherlands.
Okay. And René, where are you?
I'm also at home in a village next to Nijmegen, the Netherlands.
By the way, will I see the two of you at Soul Crusher this year?
Not sure yet. Maybe. I haven't got a ticket yet, but I might go there. Not sure yet.
I'm not sure either. I think I'm out. That's why I didn't really look into it.
Okay.
I remember looking, is it something I should go to? But then I remember it being in a weird date.
So Scott, then you
sure.
have to fly over at least to, show something.
Yeah,
But-
right. I'm at home in Los Angeles, and who's playing Soul Crusher that you want to see? What's the big draw?
I actually have to admit that I think it's a lineup that has nothing that I wouldn't see, which is a cool thing.
Yeah.
It also has nothing where I would say I haven't seen it, or there are a few bands that I haven't seen, but it would. I love everything on there, but it's not as if there is this one band that I have to see. The closest that comes to that is probably Ahab from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Who I have seen before,
yeah.
but I think the new record is mind-blowingly good. And the other band that I haven't seen and that I'm really happy to catch at Soul Crusher is Plebeian Grandstand from France. A little bit of blackened mathcore, always good.
I'd love to see Wake. They're great.
I have seen them before. They're
Awesome
really
band.
good, and I'm also looking forward to see them again. That's the good thing about Soul Crusher. For everybody who has not got any idea which stupid Dutch festival we're talking about again, because they have too many good of them, that's really true compared to Germany. The good thing about Soul Crusher is that you basically do not have to miss any band. 2 stages, they playing alternatingly, so you basically can catch everybody and everything. And that's something that I really, really like about that festival. Yeah, but they also have like Cult of Luna, Svalbard, Alcest. So they have a lot of good bands.
Nothing really big, not like gigantic names, but all the bands there's you've heard of all the bands that are playing. You've probably seen at least half of them, but yeah, solid lineup every year.
Exactly, and I know a few bands that have not been announced yet, and I won't. But I can say that there are a few more that are really, really gonna round it up very nicely, and that is something that I really like. The biggest name on the bill is probably either Alcest or Cult of Luna.
Yeah,
That's clear. But also, even those were always good live. So.
I'm looking at the lineup now. Enslaved is on there as well.
Oh yeah, that was announced a few days ago. Yes, Enslaved.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. No,
that is then probably the biggest name. Yes.
Yeah.
By far. Yeah. Also, they have like Dawn Raid, which I love to see. Always a good band. So a very, very solid lineup once again.
It looks good. The only thing missing is Dead Neanderthals.
So true.
That's always the thing with your local venue, right? It's
they never look at your
weird
local
for them.
scene.
It's weird for us. And although I have played there, I won't say many times, but more than a couple times. And yeah, it's no matter, I guess, no matter what the status is, you're from town, so you're the band from town, and it's always a little weird.
You're taken for granted.
Yeah, that's true.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, that's not specifically for us, but I guess it's for. I guess it's all the bands here in town. There's some more that that you'd see, well, maybe not on Soul Crusher, but on other festivals like this. And then it's always like, I wonder which Dutch bands they're going to get. And then sometimes it's a band from here, but usually it isn't, because I don't know, it's just that kind of thing. Maybe we know each other too well.
Could be. I'm still. Don't we also have Iskander on the billing this year?
Yeah.
Because Iskander is on road with Don Raid, so that is there. You have a Dutch band, but and he is originally from Nijmegen, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
But he doesn't live in Nijmegen anymore, does he?
No, he moved to
it's
Utrecht.
Utrecht.
We saw him day before yesterday.
Sunday.
Actually.
Yeah. Omar is always a good show up. And I'm really happy to see Iskander live. That is a band that I haven't seen live because I had to leave Roadburn early this year, as I always do. I always have to leave like Sunday afternoon, and he played Sunday evening.
Monday.
Merc on Monday, and still like a 4-hour trip or a 5-hour trip. So that was the reason. And so I get my second chance of seeing him. That's very nice. And if anybody wonders who we are talking about, Omar is the guy behind Iskander. And if you are looking for more information on it or on the project, on him himself, check out this little YouTube channel here, because there you will find another interview with him. Just to make a little bit of advertisement. And we also
I can do you one more, because
please.
We made a record with Omar and Mink from Fluisteraars, and it's coming out later this year. I think.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So one collaboration record a year is not enough.
Yeah, it's the Roadburn show we did last year.
Ah, yeah.
Okay. As Dead Neanderthals and Solar Temple. So that's set to release.
Very nice. I wasn't able to attend that one last year, but I've heard
that's why we
Oh no, yeah, of course. But I've heard from friends of mine that it must have been a really, really cool performance.
It was, because I've seen it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I can imagine, and as I've heard from friends, and as I can imagine the two acts working really nicely together, I can imagine being that a really good one. So which label is it coming out on? So let's do the whole thing, right?
That's coming out on Burning World Records.
Oh, Jurgens.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you already have like a month when it will come out?
I think it's September or October. It's right now at the pressing plant, and so it's a bit dependent of that. But everything is set. The record has been mixed, mastered, artwork is done. So yeah, we're just waiting for the physical records to show up.
And the art. Oh no, not that. That's not that one. That's weird. That's another record.
You have too many.
Says the workaholic.
Yeah.
But before we talk too much about a record that hasn't been released yet, when you people are watching this, it's only going to be a few days before the release on August the 4th of a collaboration record by these guys here. Of course, correctly and justifiedly published on Bandcamp Friday, but we have to get a little bit into that. So you have already mentioned that there was this plan of you playing at Roadburn in 2020, all three of you together. So the new record, since when have these songs seen the light of day? When did they come around and get together?
It was a very, very long process this time around. We since the Roadburn show was cancelled, we immediately started talking about like doing a follow-up record, because we were still in the vibe of working together. And basically, so we started writing and exchanging ideas in 2020.
And I mean, you're a collaboration spanning what, I guess 16,000 miles in between Nijmegen and Los Angeles, 2 continents, a lot of water in between, some stupid hillbillies in the Midwest. But how did you write the 2 songs, or this? What is it? It's like more than 30 minutes, right? If I counted correctly. So it's a lot of music to listen to. How did you write it?
René and I started fiddling around in our practice space, and came up with some basic ideas, just the drums and some synth, and then we sent it to Scott, and we said, Scott, help. Make a song of this.
Yeah. No, you guys, the way at least that we've worked together, have a pretty fully realized idea, or even just a fully realized basis of where this is going to go, and then the foundation that is you guys playing together in a room is what really ties it together and where it starts. And then inevitably, I layer on 75 different tracks of guitar, synthesizer, or whatever. I'll put all sorts of weird stuff on there besides guitar, and then send it to them, and they're like, I imagine them going like, how do we tell him to get rid of all of this?
We take out our red pens.
Yes. It's like a process of you guys laying down the bass, me putting way too many things, then you guys saying, use this one, maybe these two. But that's part of the fun. It's more like a revision after I throw a bunch of stuff on there, then you guys parse it back to bring it back into your world, I think, a little bit more. And I think that's an interesting way to collaborate too, besides just what else can we add. I'd add everything, and you guys,
it's really nice because you add a lot, and then from that we kind of get to choose and see what in what direction you can pull us, and then from there on we send it back again and say, hey, if we can go this way, then you can add some more of that or this or that, and then it's never just we send something, you send something back, we cross a lot out, and we're done. It's there's quite some emailing going on, and then we start mixing, and there's even more emailing going on.
Yeah.
Yes,
and the nice thing is that because Scott minimizes his role now in this interview, but it's not like that. At least in my perspective, Scott really adds cool stuff and new ideas to the skeletons that we have created, and it's always something that we wouldn't have come up with, so that makes it extra valuable. I mean, it's not something that we could have done with another guitar player or something like that. It's really Scott's ideas that really flesh the composition out, and that we can work with, and it takes the whole track or the whole album into new directions, and that is the stuff that makes it cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
like that. I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I'm a fan. Like, that's how, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's how we met, was just me hitting you guys up online and being like, I love you guys. Like, I love what you're doing. We should do something sometime.
I remember because
I've been stalking you, and I know where your house is.
No, but it was a funny conversation on Twitter when Twitter was still a cool place to hang out. I said, hey, the new Skeletonwitch is out and I really love it, and I tagged Skeletonwitch in it. Like 1 minute after, Scott replied, it's like, oh my god, I listened to your music when I was writing this album. I was like, no way. Like, but apparently it was true, and then we exchanged some merch. That was the first step. It was cool, and then Scott came to play in Rotterdam, and he invited us. So we went to the show, we hung out, and we basically decided, yeah, maybe we should work together on something. So sometimes things go very smoothly.
And we immediately made a band photo when we were there, and it turned out really crappy, so we couldn't use it.
That's right. And when as far as like the writing process and stuff goes too, that's something that's in the back of my mind that I'm sure is not in yours, is that I'm a fan of you guys and what you have done and what you're, many of the different projects you're doing. So, I don't want it to get in the way too much. Like, I don't want to think like I'm corrupting dead Neanderthals, but like, there is an element of concern of like, okay, is the way we work maintains that core. You guys starting first in a room together, creating that foundation, sort of assures that no matter how much I may corrupt it or try to corrupt it, I kind of, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So like, I get to add something different and push it and pull it in a different way that maybe you guys wouldn't have thought of. But the base, it's still going to sound like you guys because it's still the two of you getting in a room together. So no matter what I do, like, we can't lose. if you're a fan of what you guys do, which I am.
And we live
like
under the pressure of Scott's expectations for us, which are way too high.
but then let me ask it this way. You know, when René and Otto, when the two of you are in a room together and you're preparing stuff or you're jamming along, is there ever that one moment when you notice, oh, this could be something for Scott? Or is it the other way around, that you know, okay, we want to do something together, let's come up with good ideas for that?
It's both.
Yeah.
So either well, usually we have a lot going on, and it's like we go to a rehearsal and what do we all need to do? And then we start filling around and say, hey, this is really good. This could be something we could do for Scott. I think for at least this last album, I can't remember the first one, how that came to be. I think for this one, we actually sat down and thought about what could we do for this, keeping this project in mind, but it's not very different for us for which project it actually is. It's just let's see if we can do something cool, keep in the back of our heads that this might be good for something for a project with Scott, but let's just do something and see what works. And then when things start evolving, you can take it a little bit towards where you want to end up with this specific project. But the start is just hit some drums and press some keys and see what comes up, what you like.
What also strikes me just right now, thinking about it, I know that Dead Neanderthals have, let's say, a kind of cult following here in Europe. You know, they might not be the #1 best-selling band in Europe, but I know that everybody who's ever seen you live, who ever bought a record, never falls out of love with Dead Neanderthals. On the other hand, Skeletonwitch over here is not as big as in the States. And in the States, it's the other way around. So is that also for all of you involved? Is that also something where he's like, okay, here I'm in a project which has enough, which at least on one continent doesn't have anything to do with expectations, where, you know, I'm free to do whatever I want? Maybe that's something for Scott, well, because I know that Skeletonwitch in the States is a lot bigger than here.
For me, it was just a love of their music and wanting to do something different, because you know, I had done the Skeletonwitch thing for a very long time, and it was fun and I loved it, and I still enjoy it, even though right now we're kind of in a down period.
Start writing songs, Scott.
Yeah, I get yelled at all the time because it's my fault, but because I'm doing other musical things and working in film and TV and stuff. But anyway, with the Skeletonwitch thing, it was just after doing it for so long and doing it in a way that we were doing it, quote unquote, professionally, meaning that was our income. You know, you're like a shark. If you stop, you die. When you're not on tour, you're not making money, and you're not, like, nothing's happening. And so you're on tour, planning the next tour, planning the little bit of time off of the road to write the next record, and it's just go, go, go. So with there was no consideration to audience as far as, you know, who was known where or any of that. It was merely me being a fan of these guys and just reaching out like, hey, I wonder if I could do this, and having a desire to do something outside of metal, because having done it for so long, you know, it's like I know that's so much of my identity, even though I didn't try to make it that. you know, I grew up working in, you know, a record store when I was like going through college, and I was one of those guys from like High Fidelity, you know, like the record store guy.
Look at me! I'm gonna sell 3 copies of a beta band in the next minute.
Exactly. Yeah. At the time it was like Modest Mouse, but yes, exactly. And so, you know, I was just this one-dimensional musically. This in the world, I was this one-dimensional metal guy. Whereas, you know, I'm like obsessed with Pharoah Sanders and like Alice Coltrane and stuff, and they never get to do anything and just anything besides that, really. And it was getting to be the case that there was just no time, because the band was, to keep the band going, the band had to keep going. Yeah. And so no consideration to audience. It was merely like, this will be so much fun. This will be so different. This will be the first thing I can do outside of the band that I've done in so like such a long time. So that for me, it was honestly, it was very gratifying and something that was just fun and I looked forward to, and I didn't care about anything else.
Have you by now had any kind of reaction from the other skeleton witchers and witches to the music that you're making with these two guys?
From my band members, yes, or people who like?
Yeah. No, from your band.
The band members, it's those guys are just like, oh, cool. Have you worked on the new songs?
What 14-minute track? Forget it.
Yeah, to be fair, like they're just like they all have differing tastes and differing tolerances for challenging music, but none of the guys, even with their varying tastes, listen to extremely long form, challenging sort of kind of out there stuff. I remember one time we were playing somewhere it was in France. And I remember everyone was out of the dressing room, and I was like, this is wonderful. Like everyone's gone. This never happens. And we had a little, you know, Bluetooth speaker, and I put on, I think it was Tawhid, like the Pharoah Sanders album. And somebody came back, like unexpectedly. I thought I had all this time to myself, and somebody came back into the room. It may have been Evan, and he was like, our bass player. He was like, man, is this dude just gonna like skronk on this saxophone for like 15 minutes? And I was like, no, of course not. More like 20. That's sort of, you know, that's sort of how our relationship, and it's okay. We all like different stuff. So I don't expect them to be like, you know, fans of something we're doing, because it's just maybe not in their wheelhouse. So they're supportive, and they're like, hey, go do you. And then, hey, when are we going to do some new Skeletonwitch?
Exactly.
So if you really want to scare them, send them a copy, or, you know, like a download link to the new Eremit album from Germany. 3 songs, 133 minutes.
How do you spell that? I'm not familiar.
EREMIT. Eremit. It's I would say funeral doom played with power chords.
Okay. Are there vocals?
Yeah, there are vocals. And basically the whole thing is the musical accompaniment to a story that one of the guys is basically writing for every new album. It's an ongoing story that he's telling.
Like
so it's a little bit like it's a little like Tolkien inspired saga, put into music, put into book, put into everything. It's like Coheed and Cambria and Funeral Doom. So but then again, Otto, René, I mean, like, as I said, you know, in Europe, you are in a certain realm really, really revered, and for all justification, it's good that you are revered. But you know, did you ever think about, okay, that could be something that might help us a little bit get into that American market over there? Or is it something where you're like, I don't think anything about expectations?
Well, I don't think there's a market over there.
Oh, that could also
let me tell you, if you think you can get into the market with a record with 2 songs of each 20 minutes, you're doing your commercial business in the wrong way.
Hey, come on, Bellwitch does it with 85 minutes and 23 seconds every time. So like,
yeah, and Sleep did it with Dope Smoker, but it's just for Doom, it's different, and we're not a metal band.
That's
and you say we're a well-known band in Europe. I think we have a fan base, of course, and we really love our fans. And I think it's just as you said, once people start buying records, when I'm fulfilling orders, I always see the same names. So that's really great to see that people are really loyal fans, and it's really cool. And we meet them at shows, and it's always nice to meet them. But still, Skeletonwitch is a way bigger band. When we met Scott in Europe, they played in Baruch in Rotterdam, which is a very nice venue. It's one of the best known metal venues of the Netherlands, and the place was packed. And if we would play in Rotterdam, which we did a couple of times, we draw 40 people tops. So still, it's like Skeletonwitch is way bigger band than Neanderthals. So I don't think we can do stuff with commercial intentions in mind, because then we would have been doing other music.
It's also below. If you're playing music that's not that easy to digest, it takes a bit of learning curve to get into. You're going to stay below sales amounts that actually make an amount of money where people can invest. I mean, we can invest, and it's nice for us, but all the rest, there's no marketing budget for these amounts of sales. There's no there's no labels that'll make money from these kinds of sales. There's no bookers that really get interested because they can make some money. You need to have a certain threshold. You need to clear that before others start being able to make it worthwhile to really assist you. I mean, we get lots of help, and there's a lot of people that know us and like us and help us, but commercially, it's, especially in the Netherlands, maybe for at some point, if you have enough coverage in all of Europe, you can get something, but that's already a really large area. So there's this threshold, and we're beneath it. So it'll, I always say we're still part of the zero audience underground, which goes up to actually maybe selling 500 copies of your record in a month's time before it becomes really interesting to go places.
Would you say that there is a lot of DIY spirit behind Dead Neanderthals?
Yeah, absolutely. It has to be, because you have to do it yourself. And of course, you do it yourself with help from others, but it's a self-driven thing, yeah.
And all the people involved are usually involved because they like the band, they like us as people, they like challenging music. It all comes from a place of passion and not from commercial interest.
No.
You've already once again mentioned the music, and the music on the new record is very, very interesting, because I, although being straight edge, I felt as if in some points I was tripping, because in a positive way, because I had a feeling as if I was listening to one of those krautrock bands from the 70s, you know, where repetition is key, where only slight changes and only minute differences between certain cycles make the difference. But all in all, it's a very mantra-like thing. Is that something that you were aiming for with a record, or is it just my stupid listening?
No, it's not your stupid listening, but it's also you describe this as that it's for you, it's a special feature, and for us it's a bit what we've been going after, a direction we've been going after for a couple of records now. Repetition, long pieces. I mean, the last albums were all not all, but most albums are long pieces. And the droney, dreamy kind of transcendent feeling, yeah, that's definitely something we're after. Although it's you can do that in a million different ways, and we've been experimenting with how to do that. But it is part of the core of what we've been doing for some time now. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, I can totally attest to you getting that feeling. That's very good.
In my mind, it's always the band has a place somewhere in the spectrum between metal and minimal music and krautrock. That's somewhere in that region. But I always hope that we have figured out basically our own identity within that realm. And I sometimes hear it from fans. I can always hear that it's you guys, and well, I think that's one of the highest compliments, because it means you're not just a band copying other stuff, but you're doing the stuff you want to do, and you have your own sound. And that's just the thing I always hope that we can achieve when making a new album.
I can see what you mean. Nevertheless, let me also reframe the question a little bit. Is that like this 70s stuff, like psychedelics, like not psychedelics, psychedelic music or krautrock, is that something that you also listen to on your own at home?
Not really.
René?
well, actually, most of the time I just listen to metal. And I always try to listen to recent metal albums, because I don't want to be the guy that swears
stuck
by
in the
only
past.
the first. I get stuck in the past, but also, I mean, it's the same with science. You build on top of what has been already been made.
Yeah, true.
So it would be, I mean, sometimes it's cool to have a nostalgic feeling and to listen to old bands, to hear what they have been doing in the 70s or in the 80s, when it was all new and exciting. But I think it's also interesting just to listen to new young bands, to see what they are doing with all those influences. And I think it's very interesting to hear old bands that have been doing this stuff for 30 years and they make a new album, and to hear how they evolve within a genre that they might have defined themselves. So I always think it's very interesting to hear the new Cannibal Corpse record, because what are they doing now? They have to keep it interesting for themselves as well.
Yeah.
And same with Meshuggah. I saw them live last year, and I think it's the best show I've ever seen. And I think that's very inspiring to see a band that has been doing live shows and records for so long, and then still after 30 years being in the game, still trying to improve themselves, still like leveling up. Yeah, it's very cool.
But Scott, you had your hand up when I was asking about, krautrock.
I love it.
Yeah, you do?
I do. And I still do listen to it a fair amount, but like part of it for me, and maybe this is similar to also to what René is saying, is that some of it's I've listened to some of it so much I don't need to hear it again. Like, it was formative stuff. It's there. And now it's in my listening history and in my brain and in my hands, even sometimes when playing guitar or like synthesizer or something, that it's there, but I don't live in it and just re-listen to the old stuff all the time. Like René, I like to check out what's where are people pushing and pulling on the boundaries, what's new and exciting. But some stuff, like, I will always go back and listen to like a certain Michael Rother record or something, or I'm in my favorite band probably ever is Popelvö, the German band. I'm absolutely obsessed with them, so I can't ever quite get over that. But so I've probably listened to a lot of that stuff. Not new, like new artists referencing that, but just the literal, like, first, the creators of all that stuff that we collectively call that now, which is kind of a weird term anyway. But anyway, I still do go back there quite a bit, and like once a year I watch there's a great documentary called Krautrock, The Rebirth of Germany. It's on YouTube. I recommend it for everybody to watch. And I always tell everybody to watch it if they've never seen it, but I probably like watch it every year at least once. So.
Good.
And
so
and
I was
Otto,
not into the music when I was like working on it, like what they sent me and I was playing and this when I send it to them, you know, with some of my ideas, and I only half jokingly talk about how much stuff I put on there, but as I'm just doing like the very first thing that I put on there, and you know, they're hearing it when I give it to them with all of these tracks, and they, you know, but when I put on track 1 and it's all the way through, it's like I'm in a room playing with them, because it's just the two of them and me laying down one track, and I very much sort of zone out in a great way. And sort of you look up and you're like, wow, that was 20 minutes. Like all of a sudden they stopped playing, and because I was looking at the computer screen or whatever, and I'm like, whoa, we stopped. Like 20 minutes went by. You know, I don't even realize it. It's meditative in a way. And I don't know if it's like that for you guys when you're doing it.
It is. It's actually quite funny because we do the same. We have this idea and let's play it. And of course, it's quite repetitive. So there's no end point, especially in the beginning where there's no structure or anything. And then, let's record it so we know what we did. And then we play for some time and then we look back. Oh, that was 12 minutes. I mean, just putting the idea down. So that's, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's funny because we also developed a filter to weed out the ideas that don't work, because sometimes you play and you think, oh, that were a great 10 minutes, and then you played 3 minutes, and then you know this is a bad idea.
Exactly.
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
But I also know that I'm pretty sure that, you know, for example, Cloud Red is also like one of those palette cleansers for you guys in between doing Dead Neanderthal stuff, right, René?
Yeah.
That's also, I think, a very good way to approach music. You know, if you have a band that is working in a certain realm, and you would like to do something else and it doesn't fit, then just do another project like Cloud Red. So for everybody, check out the record, August 8th, its release date. But of course, I cannot let the guys go without having to torture them with our infamous quickfire round. You will get 5 couples, like AC versus DC, Marvel versus DC Comics, or pizza versus pasta. You'll always get 2 alternatives, and you have to choose one of them. Let's start off with something simple. Dark Throne versus Bathory.
Bathory, no questions asked.
Otto?
Oh, we all have to answer.
Yeah, you all have to answer. It's not just René when I'm torturing. Everybody has to feel the same amount of pain.
Okay, to be completely honest, I can't really remember any Dark Throne, so I'll have to say Bathory. It's not my genre, so and I do know Bathory, so I'll have to choose that.
Maybe
Scott?
you could see it. I have,
you
I have
have
the
the-
first record
yeah.
on the wall there.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
That's too far away from my glasses.
I'll be the contrarian and say Dark Throne, only because if just minutes listened, I have probably listened to Dark Throne more, and it's spotty. I mean, there's some moments where I'm like, what?
Yeah,
But
they have some really bad stuff.
what
but
is
also some
going
really
on
great stuff.
here? You know, so to just say Dark Throne makes it sound like I'm casting aspersions on Bathory. It's probably just minutes listened, and they've done some weird shit, like some like real head scratching shit. And Bathory's been more consistent. It's consistently just, there aren't as many missteps.
Yeah.
We'll say.
Next.
But I've listened to more Dark Throne probably.
Next one, Kylesa versus Baroness.
Baroness,
Oh.
absolutely.
All of them are friends of mine.
René, did you
Cool.
already give your answer?
No, for me it's Baroness as well.
Okay.
Early Baroness.
Yeah. I remember when they toured together, and I saw them both for the first time.
Yeah.
And Kylesa really sucked, and Baroness was really cool. So, ever since then, that's how I'm parsing them. No, it's Baroness. Well, early Baroness. At some point, it was like, okay, whatever. I just kind of got out of that, but yeah, Carissa never really made it with me.
Yeah,
I still remember that tour. It was like, what, 13, 14 years ago already.
Yeah.
But I was lucky to see them in a small club, and it was they were both putting on a great show that evening. But I can imagine that, you know, at that time Baroness was already a little bigger.
I think it was longer ago. I think it was 2007 or something.
Could also be. I was still in my first marriage, and you know, I tried to turn out a lot of that. So
yeah. They were back in the day, like early on, they were both so good because we did a fair amount of touring with both of them. And I remember playing like punk DIY spaces with Baroness, and then like sleeping on the floor of the show. Like I remember waking up on a plywood stage in a sleeping bag with, you know, John Baisley next to me, and it just feeling like shit, you know, and there were, you know, 50 people, and that was more people than they could fit in the little space.
Nice.
So I have like really fond memories of both, but I have to choose Baroness if since you're making me.
I will. Also making you choose between two grindcore legends, Nasum versus Wormrot.
Nasum.
Yeah. I still
2.0, their best album.
Yeah, and I still wonder how far they would have come.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's funny you say this because I was talking to Marlon Woltering, who and Otto as well. We're in a group chat.
I just want to say I was there, I think.
Yeah. And he produced this record. He mixed and mastered this album, so it's also a good name to drop. And I sent him Exhumed's Slaughter Cult album, which was mixed by the main guy from Nasum. He at some point started recording. He also recorded Nasum, and he did also Jigsaw Terror. Mm-hmm. He also recorded that album, which is really an amazing album, and not many people know it, but it's, for me, still one of the best grindcore albums ever. And it's funny because those albums, they sound timeless, basically.
Yeah.
And they have been recorded around the year 2000, and they still sound fresh. So he wasn't only a talented musician, but he was also very talented in the studio. And it really struck me because those albums still sound really good, while other albums recorded around that time sound very dated.
Yeah.
So
I have two more for you guys.
Sure.
Miles Davis versus John Zorn.
Oh, Miles Davis.
Oh shit! I've been listening to so much Miles Davis over the past couple of weeks, so I'm really into that. But I have to say John Zorn.
Yeah, for me too, John Zorn. It's more influential.
Yeah.
See, Scott, see how they're already pushing you out? You know, that goes up. And last one. I think I already know the answer of one of you guys to that one. But still, Can versus Neu.
For me, it's Neu.
I think so too. Yeah.
Scott?
These are more difficult than I thought they would be. I guess I'll be the contrarian again and go, I'll take my Can and Miles Davis. Go home.
Yeah.
But now you try to be the outsider. Come on. Okay. Ready for one last one?
Sure.
Okay. Philip Glass versus Steve Reich.
Oh, how about none?
Yeah, none of them. I won't have any of them.
You guys, wait. Have we never talked about this? You guys just dismiss them entirely?
No, of course not.
It's not for me. Both of them are not for me.
Okay, now if I have to choose, right? So I'll choose Philip Glass.
Yeah, I will choose Philip Glass as well. If nothing else, just for his sort of like early like DIY aesthetic too, where he brought his own band on tour and like funded everything, and just like he created a whole like little business, and like he was like the first DIY composer, like on any real level, I should say, that like succeeded and like really made something out of it, and it really did his own thing. And his the whole cab driving while he's still like premiering at the Met and stuff is pretty crazy. But really, like out of all that whole output, even like his like microtonal stuff, nothing.
Oh, sure, no, sure. I was in this short-lived project doing a Steve Reich composition with a band. So there was this guy who wanted to rewrite one of his pieces for a band, and he asked to play, and did some of that, which was technically actually a little bit above my the feasibility for me. So that was good for my technical chops, but it's fun, and Reich did a lot of nice things. I think if we're talking minimal, I like drone much more than the quick repetitive stuff. I'm much more into I don't know, Lamont Young than Riley's in C.
Sure.
It's just too much happening. It's I mean, I like my minimal. And actually now that we're talking about it, I actually have the Philip Glass Buddha machine.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is really cool.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. It's not the best Buddha machine because I have the whole range, but it's a nice one. It's just weird choir samples and stuff, and a lot of silence as well, which is cool.
See, guys, when you are talking to the nerds, you will be nerding out in the end, even though I don't like it. That's what I love about these kinds of interviews. Guys, thanks a lot for taking your time. Thanks a lot for doing this. Thanks, to quote ABBA, thank you for the music. Folks, if you liked this little interview, give us a subscription here, follow us on our socials, drop us a comment. We love to hear what you think of our work. If you want to go a little bit beyond vocal support, you can also go to our website where you find all the information for our Patreon. And now for one of you or all three of you, the chance for final last words.
Buy a record.
Most important.
Most important. Buy the record.
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe you'll like it. Yeah. I hope you do.
And if you don't, buy a second one. Then you'll like it.
Yeah. Buy it again. Maybe that'll help. Yeah.
And if you don't want to buy immediately, you can just listen to it on our Bandcamp. I'm sure the link will be down there somewhere.
Of course it will.
And yeah, so it would be really cool if you checked out the record and see if you can put all the talking we did here in perspective, and see if everything we said is partly true or completely false even.
Yes. And I would just say, add to that, thank you to anybody who does listen to it, buy it, whatever. It's appreciated. There's a lot of stuff out there. So for taking a moment, or a very long moment in our case, to listen to what we're doing, it's appreciated.
So thanks, guys, for joining. Have a great evening for the Dutchies and a great day for the California surfer guy. So hope to catch you on stage, at least, our Dutch friends. That will be probably easier than Scott. So, but also if you guys ever come to Europe, do it together, that would be cool. And then enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.